The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyanema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Dig Talk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugende mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
We are with Justice Kanyeihamba, but to say we really thank you for following us, watching us, and also our neighbors of Kenya. We hope that everything goes right, smoothly, and we hope that you indeed have a smooth, fair, and free elections. In my language, there are those people who say, "Yeta zirenyana nezara enemy." So, like, if it doesn't produce a she cow, it will definitely produce a bull. Now you wonder, it must be either or. So it can't produce a calf that has both. To say thank you for following, liking us. We are on the Alternative Uganda Facebook page, and also our YouTube channel is the Alternative Uganda. We also stream live on our another Facebook page, Dig Talk TV. We are with Justice George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Justice Kanyeihamba, say hello to our viewers that watched you last week.
Hello, viewers. Very nice to be connected to you again for a discussion of, I am sure, very interesting topic Norman has prepared. Nice to see you again and continue with the work. May the Lord bless you.
Thank you, thank you. Our viewers, continue sharing and inviting people to watch Justice Kanyeihamba because he always has a lot to discuss and share with the public and also the entire world. We want to encourage you later on in our second hour or thereabout to call 0759 132 310. But begin with Justice Kanyeihamba, retired Colonel Dr. Chiza was here last week.
Yes.
I think you should begin with that, how the moment was like to you.
And first of all, I was very delighted and honored to see him visit me here in my own house. He brought me very nice presents. And the last session, I think I wore the shirt. He gave me a very beautiful shirt. He brought to me also cufflinks made in the colors of Uganda flag, which was very patriotic of him. And as I said last time, as far as I can see today, with Nomatima defecting to the NRM and all the others, the leader of DP, there was I don't know how true it is, a suggestion that he was in talks with the NRM to do exactly.
Who, Dr. Besigye? Who was in talks?
No. The leader of NUPE.
That
That he was in talks with the NRM to go and cooperate with them. He has not. He has promised on 2 occasions that I'm coming to see you tomorrow, I'm coming to see you next week. He has not come. But one of his supporters told me the reason why, which I need not to discuss here. But basically, that party apparently regards me as an agent of President Museveni, simply because my car is UGJ, which retired judges have, whether you support the movement or not. I cannot denounce that I was once a cabinet minister in that party, and that I was also a judge of the
Supreme Court
of Uganda. So really, to make that a reason for not saying your friend is a criminal. So having said that, we are talking about Kizza Besigye, and in my opinion, unless you show me or prove otherwise, he is the only honest standing politician standing in Uganda. And if I see my friend Chagulanyi, I will tell him cooperate very, very effectively with Kizza Besigye. I'm sorry to say that FDC, which used to be almost the second most popular party in Uganda, its leader, Amriat, is too quiet for me to be a politician. Seems somebody has taken over as a spokesman, as leader. I don't know who it is, of FDS.
FDC.
It's a pity that Kizza Besigye retired. I think he encouraged and inspired many people, especially younger people. And of course, it was his decision. But he continues to attract millions, both listeners when he talks and the Ugandans who would like to see an alternative to the current leadership.
If I may ask in the same line, Justice Kanyeihamba, if you say that Dr. Besigye still remains the outstanding, one of those few outstanding opposition figures, how come people haven't followed him, especially when he calls for peaceful demonstrations or to speak out?
For me, demonstration against what?
For recently, for
So
example,
people don't understand, and this is my analysis. When you say, let us demonstrate against so and so, or let us have withdraw our labor, these are concepts which are not very well embedded in the African mind, let alone that of Uganda. And for me, what he did the other day, addressing the nation on hunger, people understand. When you last saw me, I appealed to the Prime Minister, and to the Vice President to come and give them 50 million shillings of my savings, the whole of my savings, so that we can save the people of Kalamajonga and now Teso who are dying of hunger. None of them has called me.
And it's a third week today.
None of them has sent their assistant or a message or rang me to say, no, we don't want that money. Or it's a good idea, but we are busy. Nobody has said that. I told you the other day that 6 of us were petitioning, and we are still interested, the Constitutional Court on the right to bail. Except the 2, Wavamuno, Alex, the others have been brought back by the NLM and their leadership, but by way of money, which I've said money is the root of all evil. So they have all abandoned me and Wavamuno. We are the only 2 now left in the petition. And we are waiting for the Constitutional Court because they had adjourned it indefinitely. We are waiting to see whether they will call us to hear it again. Now, so what I am saying, and I have become even more closer than to Chizabesi than I did before. Before he was too busy even to, although he called me on phone from time to time, he hadn't come here. But thanks to your efforts, he came here and we had a joint statement. So what I am saying, I have said 2 things. Museveni said when he retires, he will go to Rwachitura.
Take care of
He even talks about his son being a possible successor to him. This is long after I had written a booklet called The Defeat of President Museveni in the War Against Corruption. And I invited every Ugandan, please, let us discuss the retirement of President Museveni. Not tomorrow, not at the end of this term, but immediately. But at the same time, let us also talk about his succession. Everybody fears until he himself opened what they say in English, opened the batting by doing the same himself. He has said, when I retire, I'll go to Rwachitura, his favorite home. And that, of course, the children of the revolutionaries are preparing to take over. That is succession. So why no Ugandan leaders? I challenge everybody. Other than Chizabesi has ever even hinted. Do you know that in 2016, Chizabesi won the election? Everybody says so. Obasanjo said so. The president of the African Court on Human Rights said so. You know, they were the observers in that election. And yet, Ugandans, politicians especially, are very quiet. The other day, I asked Norman, what happened to the leader of the Conservative Party in Uganda? Because I have never given me any hope of winning elections. Because I am anti-corrupt, rather that kind of politics, which are very exclusive and looking backwards. Notwithstanding that I regard myself, proud to regard myself as a Musaja wa Kabaka. But his kind of tradition is different. He's a king. Now, what has happened to Rushamuzi?
Yeah, Ken
He used to call me. If I called him, he would answer. He's quiet because of the way we are governed and of the way the NRM is attracting members, supporters of the opposition in a new wave of what they call inclusive government, which we started with. So there we are.
I have a question for you here. Last week, we saw the clergy. We saw Bishop Paul Semogirire praising the president for being the best president Uganda has had, or something like that. What do you have to say about the clergy's comments, especially given what we're going through as a country, vis-a-vis what you think their calling as Christians should be?
It is very sad. For a long time, we have suffered from their silence when things were going terribly wrong in Uganda. They kept quiet. I once asked one bishop, and he said, we clergy avoid talking about
Partisan politics or something.
politics involving on them. But let me tell you the history of Christianity, because the majority in Uganda are Christians, others follow Muhammad, they are minority religion group. When Jesus was working, he had only 3 years, but he left a lasting impression forever. That's why we, including me, are Christians. So when he went to the temple the first time, a younger boy, I think he was 12 or something, he discovered gamblers there exchanging lies and wares. And he said, get out, you gambler. He checked at them. Then he referred to the rulers of Israel then. They were called Pharisees. He said, you Pharisees, you are false prophets. You are disturbing this country. And when one of them said, you empty tomb, you are rotten inside and looking beautiful outside. Then Jesus Christ appointed Judas Iscariot as one of his trusted friends. And when the Jews offered him money, the denaries, he betrayed Jesus. He said, you will recognize him when you are there. And I kiss him. So he went and kissed the cheek of Jesus.
For the enemies to know that this is the person who's talking about.
And then the first Pharisees whom he had called empty tombs arrested him. And we know the rest. He was crucified. These were religious leaders. The Christians in Uganda, including their leaders, the Archbishop of Uganda, Kazinda, the Archbishop of Kampala, Paul Semogirire, they are there because of Christ. They say, like the old Pharisees, that they worship God the Lord, God Jesus Christ, the Son of God. They even call him the Son of God.
Yeah.
But when the NRM and its leadership arrest and the tortures Ugandans, torture is not a question of gambling, it's actually torture. And the refusal bail, which is in our supreme law, and the freedom is God-given, they not only keep silent. Then I come to your question. Before Semogiride did what was not expected of a leader of a Christian, the Archbishop, the former Archbishop of Uganda, Stanley,
Ntagari.
who?
Ntagari.
Ntagari, has done even worse. First, remember we were celebrating the anniversary of the late Archbishop Luwum.
Luwum, yes.
And Ntagari, His Grace, they called him, went to the church in Gulu. And while he was leading a prayer, Kaiser, in the shape of President Museveni, went there also to worship. And when the man leading the prayer in the church, because in the heart the president had come, he rushed out for what all God's work to welcome
The president.
Kaiser. Don't take the word from me. The person who wrote a story about it is Olaro Tunu, then president of UPC party. I even don't know where he is now. He's also disappeared from the scene. Now, when I saw him, he came to see me here, Archbishop Ntagari. He visited me here with the Bishop of Kabale, then Bishop Katwesi J. George, Honorable Nduguru Hakana, and the now vice, rather what do you call him? The chancellor of Makerere University, Dr. Suruma. What happened here when they visited me? I challenged them when they refused to repent. As Jesus said, I wrote to them, and the book is called In the Name of God, Truth and Justice. You read it. Then later, Ntagari, I hope he was not in the Archbishop's clothing, committed a sin. One of the commandments is, thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. He did. They must have had a contact many times because the woman produced a child. I don't know where he is now. I think he was sacked by the church.
He repented, remember, he repented and...
Oh, he repented. Jesus said, thou shalt repent, which is good. But I don't know what he says, what will happen to them.
You're becoming a preacher this morning.
Because he forgave, he forgave Judas Iscariot, but as we know, that man hanged himself when he realized that he had
Even when he
betrayed.
had been forgiven, he...
That's right. So let me tell you, both our
Clergy.
religious leaders worship the devil in the shape of money. They worship the devil. And I say this one advised the delay. When our former Archbishop of Kampala, the one who passed away, what was his name?
Cardinal.
No, it was not Cardinal.
Which
The
one?
Cardinal we have today is Wamala.
Wamala.
He's a
Sorry,
good
that's,
man of God and he's my friend. First man of God. And he's the only one who has ever invited me to address a
Spriano,
congregation.
Kizito Luanga.
Yeah.
Spriano.
Yes. Luanga.
Yeah.
You remember he was a seasoned critic of the NRM and Museveni. Then Museveni always knows money works. The source of all evil works. So he gave a lot of money to Luanga, rather Archbishop Luanga. A lot of money, I think it was in billions, and then said, "What do you say, Archbishop?" And Luanga said, "You are a very good president." That's number one. Now, recently, to come to your question directly, as you rightly observed, Archbishop Luanga, Semogere Paul, the successor to Luanga, Museveni didn't call him, but he went there. They had the discussion. Then, as we have a problem, we lack money on this and that. Museveni, I think, gave them $1 billion or more shillings for that charity. And that is when the Archbishop of Kampala, Paul Semogere, said, "You have been a very good president. I thank you for the service you have made to Uganda." What really is amazing is what I saw last night. There are very serious elections in Kenya. Very challenging. The whole world is watching because Kenya is the powerhouse of the East African region. Observers are here. Dr. Chiza Besigye and Olanya, also what is the leader of NUP, Chagulanyi, have gone there to observe.
Yeah.
Fortunately, as we speak now, the results are still coming. Odinga and
Taking lead.
the leader of the other coalition, Ruta, are neck to neck. As I came to meet you here, they were both 1,200,000 plus. So we don't know who will win. But whoever wins, the Christians are in the middle of that election. They are in the middle. They all assembled in Nairobi yesterday. All the Christian leaders, the Muslims, they have what they call a coalition of religious leaders in Kenya. And they prayed for peace. They prayed that the election should be free and fair. And so far, not a single complaint has been made against the respective candidates, Ruta or Odinga, about disturbing the system to take advantage to win. The Ugandan bishops and the Mufti, particularly Bishop Kazinda. I belong to the Church of Uganda, and Bishop Paul Mugeri. Please, if you are really want Uganda to know you are genuine Christians and not worshippers of money, respond to this challenge today from Alternative Digital. I will ask the producer and the one interviewing me to please promise to say, did you hear Professor Kanyeihamba? You are Christian. Reciting the words of God,
Right.
the Son of God, Jesus Christ, when he challenged and opposed politicians in Israel who were damaging.
The image of
Yes.
the temple of God.
Please, Norman, I beg you, ask them when you live here, and maybe even before long, tell your listeners what did the archbishops say. I know it is difficult, but you could also make a call to the Prime Minister and to the Vice President of Uganda, Alupo, whom I used to call my sister-in-law. You will find out why. And they say, don't you want to get that little money? And the add-on from Professor Kamyeihamba, he offered 50 million to stop starving of these people and yours in Karamoja. Have you answered him? Has your team had him? I think that it is a pity in Uganda. I have written about 34 books published in Uganda. And I have challenged even people like you. Find another one who has ever worked as I have worked as Minister of Justice, Attorney General, Presidential Advisor, Judge of the Supreme Court, Judge of the African Court on Human Rights, and has also written
over 35 books.
Over 30 books. I must be one of the few, if not the only one in the world who has done all that. But I have never been even recognized by the NRM ruling party as having done anything. You read my book, The Defeat of President Museveni. I am the one who nominated him to become president of Uganda. But he's annoyed by that knowledge. He would rather I had never had nominated him. But he accepted when I nominated him. What is wrong with Uganda? But mostly we are talking about the
Clergy,
religious
yeah.
leaders. What is happening? The Mufti of Uganda, Mubaji, he's there because of the work I did for this country. President Museveni nominated me to be the chairman of the Muslim conference. And I came up with my colleagues. I was assisted by the late Katamba, Mzee Katama, and Gato Tunjua. You can ask her, she's still alive. She used to be a firebrand in the NRM. And like some other person I called a firebrand and nominated her to be the chairman of the Kanyeihamba Foundation, Miriam Matembe, doctor. And when she didn't have her way, and then had me suing President Museveni for threatening, not for violating, for threatening the right to bail. She avoided me. You can't. No, she warned me in very angry mood. You cannot sue the president, Kanyeihamba, because he's the head of state, and no one sues him. She's a lawyer. She has never heard that in all the 4 petitions we have had challenging the president.
Presidential.
President Museveni was a party. His name as a party. She's never read that. When you hear Uganda shouting very loudly, they are in the wrong. So what did she do? When I said, no, anybody can sue the president, she resigned from Kanyeihamba Foundation. That's the kind of politician. They give the impression they're brave and so on, but at the heart, they have a different agenda. I will not talk about the agenda Miriam Matembe has, but I know it. I don't tell anybody.
I want to take you back to the clergy.
Yes, please.
You, in so many discussions, you have praised Bishop Chivenjere at that time. Definitely the likes of Cardinal Suga Wamala, and also the likes of the late now Luumu, for having stood straight to fight injustices. What has happened to the present generations that we can hardly find or have people of such charisma, especially when it comes to religious leaders? Are they frightened?
You know that when Festus Chivenjere, the former bishop of Kabale, of Kigezi, saw that there was iniquity and bad governing in this country, he actually helped us. He even, his daughter, who was dedicated herself to the cause of liberating Uganda, and forgot to get married. And never got married.
Hope Chivenjere?
Hope Chivenjere, the daughter of Festus Chivenjere. Festus Chivenjere came to UK to recruit me. You know, I was teaching there, teaching law there. Chivenjere came there to recruit me to join Museveni in the effort to liberate Uganda, which we did from Idi Amin. Chivenjere is not a saint. He used to be preaching the God of word worldwide. He went to UK, he went to America, he went to Southern Africa, spreading the word of God. There are much more he did we don't give credit for. I won't go through because we are not talking about him. And I can tell you also, apart from talking to me, he also went and talked to Museveni. And he said, I've recruited the people like Rwakana Rugunda, because he was from Kigezi, so he knew us. And Museveni is also of Kigezi, you see. So he said, I have got a vision that God had called us, the people of Kigezi, you, Rwakana Rugunda, Amama Babazi, Masuru Chikeire, Mahakanizi, the late Mtebile, the late Chief Justice. He called him from Southern Africa. Ntabwoba, Herbert Ntabwoba, and various others I can mention because I don't know if it was you, but somebody wants to know the people, the names of Uganda who have contributed to the liberties and liberation of this country. I'll give them when the opportunity comes. But in the other systems and the other churches, Bishop Chivenjeri would be declared as a hero, if not a saint.
So
That is what Chivenjeri meant to us.
what has made it hard for the present religious leaders to have such charismatic hearts?
You know, I have asked you, and you are going to give us the answer. You will say, maybe you give it to me before, or in the next round. Ask Kazinda, and ask Paulo Swemugeri, and the Mufti of Uganda, Mubaje. Why did the other people do this? Kakunguru, who was a Muslim leader, did wonders for this country and Uganda. So you say, why you people,
Doing the opposite.
why are you silent when Uganda is on fire politically? Your predecessors, Kanyeihamba nominated them. The cardinal, who is even bigger than Archbishop, Cardinal Wamala, invited me to address a congregation at Rubaga on the rule of law. Cardinal is still alive, he's a bit weak because of age and illness, but he's weak. Why hasn't no bishop of the church of my faith, the Church of Uganda, Bishop Kazinda, the former Bishop Ntagali, who came here when I invited him for dinner, and the likes of you, challenged the evil that is emanating from the ruling party and others. As we speak now, 2 MPs, honorable members of parliament, have been refused bail. And neither Kazinda nor Archbishop Semogere is new,
Or the
no
Mufti.
Mubaje have said a word. So, Jesus, they said they inherited the power of Jesus to look after the lamb. And the man is the lamb of God. So what have they done? Let us challenge them. And if they refuse to answer you, I will arrange with you and we go there. And I question them myself. What have you done to rescue the poor and the wretched in this country in the name of Jesus Christ or in the name of Allah?
Our viewers, we are still with Justice George Wilson Kanyeihamba this morning, the 10th August 2022. In the same line, before we go to our short break, Americans said they still need your friend, Mr. Museveni. What's your take? Do they have any hidden
That
agenda?
did not surprise me. Because the American policy is not identical to Museveni's policy. But they want him to do their job. Let me tell you what happened before we go for a break. After the most reverend Chivenjeri nominated me to join the fight against Idi Amin, went to UK. No, rather I was in the UK. I went to see the Archbishop of Wales and to say goodbye that I am going to liberate Uganda together with Museveni and the others. He said that is a very good idea. But he allowed me to address a congregation in the oldest cathedral in Wales called St. David's Cathedral. I addressed the crowd on the invitation of the Lord Archbishop of Wales, George, that was his name, George. Then, as chairman of the Uganda Group of Human Rights, who was fighting also against Museveni and the bad elements in Uganda, we organized a convention of our supporters in London, middle of London, Westminster. The then Archbishop of Great Britain and Ireland, Archbishop Clergy, led the prayer. And I want to remind you his prayer, which worked miraculously. He said, President Amin, you are torturing your people. You are killing your people. Let God give you the wisdom to stop doing so. Then he said what actually occurred. But if you can't change, please let God take you out from Uganda. That was the Archbishop of Canterbury, the leader of all Anglican
churches in the
dominations in the world. My friend, Ntakara, I came to your place. I handed you personally our petition against the threat to the right to bail. You promised me, you personally, that you will deliver the copy I had prepared for the Archbishop of Kampala, Samuel Girede. Since then, I've been calling you. You are not answering to say, did you deliver that letter? I'm calling, what have you said about it to the whole of Uganda? Can you really continue justifying yourself as leader of the Anglican Church in Uganda when you continue being silent? God is asking you now, not me. I'm sitting with the strength of God. Address your people on these errors and warn the ruling party and the government that they are not doing things which God approves. I thank you.
We're still with Justice Kanyeihamba, but also I would bring it back to you again in these remaining minutes before we go for a short break in regards to Americans' comment, if I may use that word, that they still want.
What I wanted to say, when I was the chairman of the Uganda Group of Human Rights, I was invited by the BBC to participate in a panel discussion about apartheid in South Africa. And while we were doing so, the ambassador of South Africa, who was himself a supporter of apartheid, by the way, there were also Africans in those days who supported apartheid, like the former mayor of Soweto. So he was also at that debate, to support appetite. He's an African, and I was opposing it. So when we were there, he asked me, "You are from Uganda, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." So he said, "Our people are fed and looked after. For you have run into London. How can you criticize apartheid, which your fellow African, the mayor of Soweto, is here to support?" So I asked him. We were debating at Shepherd's Bush, near the Queen's residence, Buckingham Palace. So I said, "Your Excellency, we are near the Buckingham Palace. She has got dogs called corgis, C-O-R-G-I, corgis. They are fed with milk and honey. They are allowed to sleep in the most beautiful beds covered with fur. Every time they have a cough or whatever, they are rushed
Hospital.
by Mercedes-Benz to the nearest vet." He said, "Yes, so what?" I said, "Would you like to be one of those dogs?" And then everybody laughed. But to be fair, unlike our religious leaders, the ambassador listened, and he was touched by what I said. So when Mandela gained independence for South Africa and was campaigning to become the president, the ambassador went not to oppose him, but he founded his own party also to fight apartheid. But the power and authority of Mandela was such that he swept everybody, including apartheid and that ambassador. He was a doctor of something. So what am I saying? I'm saying that many liberators are assisted in the name of God by making their opponents believe that they are inspired by God. I have been reported dead twice. Even Sabotage Kabaka called on my phone when I had died, and when I had it, I said, "Sabotage, he said, you see, you are still alive." He's a friend of mine. He occasionally visits me here. And I said, "I am alive." And somebody called me from Kawale. He said, "Oh, you are alive. We are coming for the funeral." Now, let me tell you, I will not go to the whole story. There are many members who say, "We shall support Kanyeihamba Foundation. We shall support Kanyeihamba Foundation," hoping I was dying soon. When they discovered I am talking like I am talking, I am okay, and it's only God who decides when you die, most of them have resigned from Kanyeihamba Foundation. So you can see they were here for a different purpose. One of them, who was a director of Kanyeihamba Foundation, is doing his best to sabotage our petition against the threat to the rule of law, rather
Right of bail.
to bail. Then you say, "Why did you join Professor Kanyeihamba in the first place? Now you are sabotaging." Somebody, he's in the payment of somebody, but we have not bothered to discover who. but I think many people can, yes.
Okay, our viewers, we are breaking for a minute or so, and as soon as we return, we shall implore you to call our lines direct and talk to Justice Kanyeihamba, but also I'll be in position to read your comments and the questions you have sent onto this show. Please don't go away. Just in a minute, we're coming back.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
How you beautiful Ugandans, it's your girl Sabotage. Welcome to the fancy flow. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion.
Please, where are you think? Teaching.
What has been confusing you about fashion? Sorry, you said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape.
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
We shall be doing all this in the fancy floor. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl Sabotage. It is the fancy floor.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Okay, welcome back. Our viewers, we are still with Justice Kanyeihamba, and this is our last hour of the show. We encourage you to call 0759-132-310 or 0789-017-145. I repeat, 0759-132-310 or 0789-017-145. And interact direct to Justice Kanyeihamba. If you have any questions or comments, please call in and get to him. He will definitely answer to you straight away. Justice Kanyeihamba, we want to go back to our previous discussion, this time around, about Kenyan politics.
Yes.
I know you have been there, and when you were coming, you were one of the members on the commission that was fighting corruption.
I was the chairman.
The chairperson of the commission that dealt with the corruption in the judicial system of Kenya. Subsequently, we now saw the transparency and good works of your commission because they had reforms in their judicial system.
That's right.
Which brought decent people like Justice Maraga and others who nullified the elections that time. This time around, how do you read the sequence of events in Kenya, especially that they voted yesterday? And you have been following the entire sequence of events in their campaigns, no chibokos like here, no tear gas, nothing. So give our viewers.
Not only that, but all the religious leaders are
united
are
and
in the middle of it,
yeah,
and praying for peace and
to prevail in Kenya.
election results without any violence.
What do we learn from Kenya?
Pardon?
What do we learn from Kenyan democracy?
What do we learn? You see, what happened in the by-election in East Teso the other day, we should never repeat it because the Kenyans don't do it. Previously, the newspapers, Monitor, and the government paper, New Vision, which, by the way, I am a co-owner. And I told you to ask the editor, why don't you allow your own owner, Kanyeihamba, to make a comment? And you don't write it down. That is another question you should ask. However, both newspapers, previous day before the election, have said the candidate and parties have been bribing voters. We have seen people like the Prime Minister or his agent bringing a lot of money, bags of money, to pay voters. The army has been interfering, especially hunting down the agents of the political parties. That is a day before the election. And those are the events which won the election. Because if you imprison voters and the agents of candidates, and you pay others a lot of money, or promise them that they will be made ministers if they will do this or the other. That is when you win the election. Because those who are paid will not do anything, they will not vote. Those who have hit will not vote because they go in hiding, like the MP who have been refused bail. And those you have facilitated with money and the goods will naturally vote for you. Then how can you claim, as the Secretary General of NRM, claim that we won the election? You didn't have to have done anything. You just wait there so that your money, your intimidation, your threats will do the work. So the Soroti by-election was not won. It was lost by the opposition because of bribes, fear, and intimidation by the NRM.
So what do we learn from
So
Kenya
it
now?
is a, no, I would like to talk to the Secretary General of NRM. And they said, why did you say you won? Why don't you say we bought the seat with money, intimidation, and torture? So what I am saying is that the NRM and the President Museveni in particular, whom I used to support and really respect for his honesty, all that has gone away in thin air. I think, was it last time when I told you how he has deliberately destroyed other parties?
Yeah.
Yes. That one is very, very important. He has never loved political parties. He will be my witness. He has never, he hates political parties. So how can you hate political parties and be leader of one? It's a contradiction in terms.
What do we learn from Kenya now in line to, because you have given a preamble about the bribery?
I am hoping that the results will be declared at least this week. And whoever wins governs Kenya peacefully after democratic elections. It would be a pity 1,000 times if some of the supporters of the parties or the party leaders themselves were angered by the loss that they started what happened in Kenya before, butchering and injuring their fellow Kenyans. I hope that will be avoided. Personally, for personal reasons, I support that candidate Odinga and his running mate, Korea, shall win. That's what I hope for. But if Ruta wins, all of us East Africans and the Kenyans should respect him and accept him as the president of Kenya, because he will have won without intimidation, without bribery, without torture, which our own system allows to prevail in order for our leaders to win. What I am telling you complements what I said earlier. That several, actually 3 directors, I want you to read the copy called Kanyeihamba Foundation Handbook. 3 of them spoke there. And the way they talked about me, Kanyeihamba, you would think I was an angel sent from heaven. But they were not praising me, now I understand. But they wanted to take over the leadership and dominate Kanyeihamba Foundation. So when I refused, 3 of them resigned. And the one sabotaged the petitioner's efforts to protect
A right to bail.
article on
A right to bail.
on the right to bail. Let me tell you something. One of those is so stupidly ignorant. I'm not mentioning him now, but maybe the next, if he continues behaving himself, he doesn't even know. He was a failed petitioner. He doesn't know what we are doing because his motives are different. He stole our submissions to the Court of Appeal. Disappeared with them. And then he changed it unilaterally. And when I was not here, he brought it to this house. It's only yesterday I discovered
It had been edited.
that he deleted the paper where I had signed. He's the one who has signed. And he's only a student, but he's signed as a counsel for the petitioners. When we finish this one, we are hoping that the Court of Appeal will tell us when our petition is to be heard.
Okay.
After the hearing of that petition, of which the Chief Justice of Uganda, Alfonso Dola, William, clashed with the President Museveni on and he's our chief witness in this case. We shall see how the judges of the Court of Appeal will disagree with their chairman and Chief Justice of Uganda, who is our witness in this petition, and dismiss our petition. This will be the day all Ugandans will all remember. But I hope they will be sensible. After all, they are deemed to be good judges. So, this petition will be heard. The whole world knows about it, because when one of the judges, what is her name? The woman in the Court of Appeal now, who did the land commission.
Justice Bamugemerere.
Yes, just
Bamugemerere.
Bamugemerere. He had adjourned the case alone, without consulting the parties. Presumably, she wants to be the first chief justice in Uganda. I hope that my good friend, the Chief Justice, Owinyi Dolo, is listening to this conversation. Because when this case comes up, you are going to be our star witness. But also remember how your subordinate, Justice Bamugemerere,
Adjourned the case.
Adjourned the case without consulting us and without anybody telling us what's the reason. But that is not more. The registrar, who was neutral in the proceedings, was during the night transferred pace quickly to a remote court, registrar's court in the northern region.
What does that mean in regards to the independence of the judiciary? That such matters are managed that
Norman, I have talked so many times, written so many times. We no longer have an independent judiciary, except one or two judges. The majority are pure cadres of the movement, and they do follow the orders of that party regardless. Because I may have repeated it, but let me repeat it. In the 2006 petition, I was one of the 7 judges who had it. And the seven of us, including the Chief Justice Odochi, gave our individual findings as the Constitution directs. This is actually Article 2000, or is this 1004 of the Constitution. It says, the judges shall inquire, the Supreme Court judges shall inquire into the petition, not to depend on the evidence or submissions, which are often false, of the parties, but that they themselves, the judges, shall inquire into and give their findings. So in the 2001, we inquired into the petition, and for the benefit of Honorable Dr. Miriam Matembe, 2 of them, because Museveni was one of the parties against which the petition she's basically filed. 2 of them, 2 of us, Justice Sekoko and Justice Arthur Odero found that presidential candidate Museveni had committed crimes. See, there were findings. I was one of the 5 who said we did not receive any credible evidence that he had done so. But we were unanimous, the 7 of us, that the election, presidential election of 2006 had been rigged. And who said so? We asked ourselves 4 questions. Was the Constitution obeyed? Were the relevant laws, which is Presidential Election Act and the Electoral Commission Act, were they complied with? And 2, rather 4, did the police and the army interfere
with the process
in that election in favor of Museveni? The Chief Justice of Uganda then, Odochi, said, yes, the Constitution was violated. Yes, the 2 relevant laws were violated. Yes, the army
and the police
interfered illegally in that election. 5, there was vote stuffing in that election. Then, one by one, we all agreed with the Chief Justice Odochi. We came with yes, yes on every question. That is Justice Odero, Justice Sekoko, they have all gone to serve the Lord. Justice Kalokola, he also has left. I don't know why. Justice Mulenga is also passed on. Justice Katulebe and I, we are still alive. So they all of us agreed with the Chief Justice of Uganda, Odochi, that the
petition be...
Yes, she's a message. Rather, the election had been rigged and should not stand. Then I write in my books. And the Kahinda Tsafire, you should ask him. He was a witness to what happened afterwards. Or if not a member of the threatening executive members. Then they approached the 2 of us, Mulenga and Karokola, that if Kizza won that election.
I wanted to take him before this caller goes off. You mind?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, you are with Justice Kanyeihamba. You may go ahead and ask a question by beginning with your names and where you're calling from.
Yes, good morning, the Mighty Bride. Thanks for being Professor Kanyeihamba.
Good morning, my friend.
Yes, this is James from Wake. My question is, what went wrong for Uganda to be democratic like Kenya? Because with Kenya, there were no military intervention, there were no policemen, the elections are a bit peaceful, regardless of some minor incidents. But at least you see that they are far beyond than Uganda. What went wrong and what can be rectified for Uganda to enjoy the democracy like our neighbors are doing? Anyway, thank you, Professor. We love you so much.
What went wrong with one?
Okay, he's going to respond. He asks that what went wrong in Uganda, that there is no mass injustices or beatings or violence in Kenya as of now during elections, unlike in Uganda where there are lots of deployments and threats. So what can be done to rectify the Uganda's problem in line with Kenya?
I have just completed a book, and I asked my good friend who has asked this question to read it when it comes out, possibly in a few weeks' time. The book is called President Museveni and His Shadow, Tibuhaburwa. Tibuhaburwa happened some time ago. And since it happened, everything decent, legal, constitutional in Uganda has been messed up and ignored. That's what that book will say. That is what went wrong.
That Tibuhaburwa is
we
against...
acquired the government which thrives on corruption and abuse of office, led by a man called Tibuhaburwa. Tibuhaburwa, in our language, means he who cannot tolerate advice or be advised. Therefore, when Tibuhaburwa is in charge, nobody accepts advice because it is hated and nobody tolerates it. My friend, that is what happened to Uganda.
That Uganda is led by
When
Tibuhaburwa.
Kenya had a problem, constitutional and legal, they invited me. The Kenyan government also invited me to investigate into the constitutional provisions and acts of members of parliament. I gave a report which, if you read the opinions of Professor Mumba, who comes from Kenya and is worldwide known and respected, he will tell you that the Kenya government immediately implemented my reports. I was not alone, I was with other 3, rather 4 Commonwealth eminent judges and the jurists. Katurebe, knowing that I had done a good job for Kenya, they made me a one-man commission to do the same in Uganda. I investigated the judiciary in Uganda in relation to the laws and the constitutional violations. I found that 7 of them, rather 4 of them, and the 4 magistrates, including one chief magistrate, were thoroughly corrupt, were disobeying even the Chief Justice. The reason I said they are disobeying the Chief Justice, because Katurebe also named one publicly, and they said this judge is corrupt, he should be removed from the judiciary. I'm going to inform the Electoral Commission. Publicly, Chief Justice of Uganda, Katurebe. So what happened? Years and years passed without anybody doing anything about my report. Then, through corruption, I believe, a relatively young employee of the judiciary, no, of the Judicial Commission, wrote to me And they said, Kanyeihamba. These people were started investigated by the Judicial Service Commission, and they were all cleared, including the one that had been named by the Chief Justice himself, that they were cleared. So I wrote, I said, can you give me a report of that clearance? He has never answered to me. I eventually called the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, who happened to be a judge. So he said, I don't know about anybody who cleared that one. But he set up a committee to interview me on what I have found. I sent a copy of the report to them. The Chief Justice received one, and they have never responded to me or said anything that I advised. So that judge, for me, I didn't know much about him, but he had forged an entry to Makerere to study LLD. I don't know in other, I have that, but LLD, you don't study it. It is awarded to do the honorary for the work done to the law and the community at large. But for him, he was registering to study the degree of LLD. And when I wrote it to the then director of higher studies at Makerere, Katungwe, who is now the vice chancellor of Chambogo University,
Professor Katunguka.
He said, that man is fraudulent. We have never admitted him to do LLD. He's lying. This is referring to a judge by Katunguka. And he said, he once came here to ask to see whether he can do PhD. And I told him, you are not qualified. But he seemed he had convinced my successor, Mbazira. Mbazira is still there as the dean of the School of Law. So he admitted him. Then when I had that, I went to Mbazira myself. I met him and I said, this judge has committed fraud. He's convincing you that he's registered, but he only inquired and they have never registered him. But I hear rumors, and you can find out by asking the question, putting director to Mbazira, Professor Mbazira, the head of the school law at Makerere. What did he do when I gave him that information? But the rumor is that he actually admitted him after the judge had paid a lot of money, and he's now a doctor. Dr. Mwanjira is now a doctor. So, when I gave this information to several people, including the late Dr. Wendeire, who was investigating the conditions of higher education in this country, he read it, he said those who admitted him or who are receiving him in that of what you have said should be sacked immediately from their relative information. Is Professor, the Dean of the School of Law at Makerere, still there? He was never sacked? That's the question I've seen. So having said that, when the Commonwealth had what I had done for Kenya, they had a problem with the administration of justice in the kingdom of Lesotho. I think it has a name, a different name now. So they asked me to head an international commission of jurists. I was a jurist to go there and investigate. I investigated there judicially and I found that he was also corrupted. And the main culprits were the prime minister, who was the uncle of the king, and the attorney general. So I recommend they should be sacked. The prime minister and the attorney general should be sacked. I think for me, I tried to contact the prime minister. They think they are greater than angels, so he doesn't even, she doesn't even bother to say, Kanyeihamba, I received your note. Either I'm thinking about it or you have no right to write to me, which is true, presumably according to Uganda philosophy. But let's going back. So when I recommended that, the uncle told his nephew that I'm not going anywhere. Who is this so-called Kanyeihamba? Is he the president of an African country, whatever? He said, I'm staying put. Then the attorney general said, if you don't leave Lesotho now, you may not be safe in our country. I left because my schedule had said I should stay there on those few days, not because of the threat of the attorney general. Having left, the king accepted the threat of his uncle and did nothing. For 2 years, my report stood there. But eventually, the donors of Europe and the Americans, I am told the American, is it a minister, was here and said they still need
Museveni.
Remember, she said, we still need Museveni. You ask, is it we Ugandans?
Well,
The Americans. Museveni, are you serving the Americans? Or are you serving Ugandans? Because the American woman said, we still need Museveni on security.
I have comments here for you.
So let me finish this point. So after 2 years, the European donors who had received a copy of my report and the Americans threatened the king that unless you implement the Kanyeihamba report, we shall not cooperate with you anymore. And we are not sending any more aid. The king held on for some time, but eventually he accepted their advice and sacked both the uncle and the attorney general of Lesotho. You can look it in the books or on internet. So when he did that, the aid started to flow back into the kingdom. The king sent his own brother, Prince David, to come to Uganda, not only to thank me, but he said, I hear you are soon to retire. We would like you to come and be the Chief Justice of Lesotho for about 5 years and sort out our own judiciary. Then I can tell you, a Ugandan official, a very high official, sabotaged my going. So I never went. I think you also know that when I was going to become the president of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, other Ugandans sabotaged my going there. And instead, the person who was campaigning for me to become president at that court, Justice Sophia Akufo of Ghana, became president. And they call that patriotism.
I have comments
So that's
here.
how it is.
I have comments here for you. One is from Ballet Juvenile.
Who?
Ballet Juvenile.
Joseline.
How I wish other media houses copy from Digitalk by bringing brilliant men like Professor Kanyeihamba. Thanks to the management. There is another Nache Unerita says, I love Professor's passion of following the global current affairs, but you find a youthful and would be a productive youth spending much time in baiting houses than following such important issues. I'm already enjoying the senior citizen. Thank you, Norman and Digitalk, for always bringing us Justice Kanyeihamba. In our remaining minutes, Justice Kanyeihamba, you have always said you have reservations towards political parties.
Yes.
And
In Uganda.
In Uganda. Chairman Mao, sometime when you were launching your book, he mentioned, he said he agrees with you on almost everything, save for your view against political parties. Why do you hate political parties in Uganda? And then we
Because as we know, his comment was not honest. If it had been, he would still be leader of the oldest party in Uganda, DP. But as we know, he decided to do Cheyo and joined the NRM and agreed to be Minister of Constitutional
Affairs,
of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So I am reviewing my position. You remember at that launch, Honorable Dr. Matembe said, we have come here because we love Kanyeihamba and what he does and what his principle teaches us. So I have told you she has resigned. So she was not also being honest, although she's a Mlokole. You can't love somebody and you start hating him because he has petitioned against a person, President Museveni, unless you love Museveni. So she has always told us she's against President Museveni. But when I and the others petitioned the Constitutional Court for him threatening the right to bail and citing our source of authority, Article 50, which one of us, who was a director also, and a petitioner with us, called Solomon, revised without our knowledge our submission to the Constitutional Court written, and they says they are threatening Article 50 of the Constitution. I swear to that. That is not correct. Ugandan is really, you make me laugh.
So why
ask Solomon, why do you say Article 50? Article 50 empowers any citizen who thinks the invested rights in the Constitution have been threatened. So you cannot infringe Article 50. Solomon, the poor Solomon. I hope you are listening to me. It's absurd. He knows nothing about the law. He's a student. But when he stole our submissions, he went to the Court of Appeal and pretending to be counsel for the petitioners, changed everything. And we saw what we had said, we are not going to argue because they are not substantial. He saw everything, the Attorney General put there. Because for him, although we are saying in our petition that we don't believe that the Attorney General is qualified, when Solomon saw, we ignored the Attorney General submission. He panicked, he stole. By the way, he stole our petition from me here when I had asked him to go and do some more copies. Then he has been with it. He changed it totally to put in the Attorney General's submissions, which are irrelevant. And then is he there? They told him he's not here. He went out. So he smuggled it in this house and left us with my household who don't know the law. And I only they discovered that Solomon had a director of Kanyeihamba Foundation, and the fellow petitioner had sabotaged, or tried to sabotage, because we shall continue, our petition. That is somebody who was worshipping Kanyeihamba.
Noah Patience here asks, Noah Pesh.
What?
Noah, this viewer is called Noah Pesh. Professor, I'm still wondering, with the books you delivered to opposition and great leaders, and no one has ever given you a notice of receipt or appreciation, isn't that clear enough that there is no clear opposition? We are in the politics of lies. Noah Manya Patience.
I agree in that entirely with my fellow Ugandan who was asked that question. I agree 100% with what I said. How do I send you free books? You are leader of a political party in Uganda. 2 of those copies are supporting you in opposition to the current ruling party. How do you not even say, thank you for sending me a copy of your book? None has done so. Not even Chagulanyi, not Mao, although he came to the launch of that book. So it is not that we don't have a reading culture, Noah. But we are frightened. We are frightened of the shadow of Museveni.
Okay, in our closing remarks, we want to ask you what can be done to ensure that political parties fulfill their mandate.
Let me say one thing. As long as we have the NRM the way it is structured, where lies is the rule of law, like the Secretary General did recently, so long as Museveni Tibuhaburwa is in power, nothing in Uganda can never change. I have been reading newspapers since 1960, when I used to go to the High Commission in London and read the papers they should send in the diplomatic bag. Not once have I ever been without such a copy. But many people I ask in Uganda, including my friends from Golo, whom I give books, nobody. Okero Chero, William Nganwa, Karyal Goko, on golf. Tennis, I used to be the president of the Uganda Tennis Association. None of them have given the books. None of the politicians. Chagulanyi, Mau. I even sent one to Akena. Nobody, I swear by the name of God, has ever acknowledged
Receipt.
even to say thank you for the book you sent me.
Okay, our viewers, we
That is the kind of Uganda.
okay.
President Museveni Tibuhaburwa rules. I want to also to end saying this. Museveni says he has, and indeed he has, tens, if not hundreds, of advisors. Now I have told everybody, including those who don't know Nyachitara, that his other name, which he only brought in this last election, Tibuhaburwa, means he who doesn't
Take
tolerate advice or act on it. Why hasn't there been one single Uganda? Ask him. Then why do you retain these expensive advisors whom you pay a lot of money?
Whose advice you want
And
to take?
those advisors include cabinet ministers. So they should ask people like Henry Musasizi, who is now very strong in the Ministry of Finance. Ask my good friend Matia Kasaija. Museveni has said he doesn't want advisors. What are you still doing in those posts?
Okay, our viewers, this is the last comment here from Patience. She suggests that there should be a discussion between Professor and the political party heads. I hope that we most likely we shall think through it and see whether we can have a brief discussion amidst Justice Kanyeihamba and political party heads. We wish to close from here because our time is up, and definitely catch you next time. Professor, your closing remarks to your viewers, just like in half a minute.
I think my little booklet challenging presidential elections and its twin sister, the defeat of President Museveni, I am very honest in my opinions expressed in those books. I would urge every Ugandan, especially those who have been talking to me on alternative digital, to receive or get a copy of that book. If you give me your telephone number, I will make the necessary effort to make sure you get that copy. And my phone number is 075 247 9965. Let me repeat that. 075 247 9965. I'll make sure that whoever calls that number will get a copy of the two books. Read them, please. Don't be like Ugandans who look at the cover, look at the first page instead of have read your book.
Okay.
And when you ask them what is in it, they are lost.
Okay, our viewers, this is, as I close, this is our final reminder that with effect from this Saturday, 13th, we shall be hosting Dr. Chiza Besige on Alternative Digital in a new show titled The Interface. So Dr. Besige is going to be on the Alternative Digital and Alternative Digital social media page, that's the Alternative Uganda, and also Digital TV every Saturday, 10 a.m. to midday. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. to midday, featuring Dr. Kizza Besigye, because we believe that there is a lot he ought to share with the public and the entire world at large. May God bless all of you.
Can I say what before you bless us?
Yes, sure.
I can't. I can't resist saying a word about Kizza Besigye. Ugandans, you know me, and you know my judgment and my controversial views. In my opinion, currently as I speak, Kizza Besigye, Dr. Kizza Besigye, is the only politician who is honest and who is still standing to guide this country. So I urge everyone who believes in the rule of law, democracy, to listen to what Kizza Besigye is going to say. Remembering that in 2016, he won the presidential election, but the corruption, intimidation, and the resistance of Tibuhaburwa and the other leaders denied him. Incidentally, during that election, when it finished, I wrote an article which appeared and is reproduced in the blessing, rather in the Power of Africa, the annexed happened, saying Uganda would never be the same after that election, which denied Kizza Besigye his presidency. And that is what attracted the observers of that election. Obasanjo leading the Commonwealth. Justice Sophia Akufo leading the AOU observer team. His Excellency Banda leading the Comesa town. He used to be the president of Zambia. And Shaka Sali, our own man. They came here accompanied by President Museveni's security team. When they arrived here, my neighbors thought maybe I had died because of the motorcade that came following those dignitaries from abroad and all the cars parked around here. They know I am a friend of the president and of Sabotage. So some of them ask, at long last, is our man gone? They said, no, a foreign visitors has come to see him. Which foreign visitors? All those who were observing the elections. Then Obasanjo himself, you can ask him, he's still alive, a very respected former president of Nigeria, said, but don't worry, when OU and the UN sends observer here, it is to reconcile the antagonistic parties. It's not to declare one of them won or not. So we shall not do that. But we have convinced them, Museveni and Kizza Besigye, to form a coalition and work together. Otherwise, the army will not allow Kizza Besigye to govern. And then we believe the population of Uganda, knowing that Kizza Besigye won the election, may not allow President Museveni
to lead,
to continue ruling. If it was in West Africa, President Museveni would now be running away in exile elsewhere. That is the words of President Obasanjo. Then he said, called the Ugandans, we wanted to show you that African leaders don't only respect and visit their own colleagues, but they also visit and respect all African leaders who have done good for this continent. And Professor Kanyeihamba here has done good for us.
Okay, our viewers, thanks a lot for following and watching us. We continue to remind you that effective this Saturday at 10 a.m. we shall be hosting Dr. Chiza Besigye, and this show is going to be taking place every Saturday from 10 a.m. to midday. May God bless all of you. Continue sharing and continue imploring people to like and follow the page. We can't thank you enough. Be blessed.
Thank you.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.